Political betrayal is not just about broken promises. It is measured in the real hardship it brings to those who once trusted their governments to act in their best interests. Labour's decision to cut winter fuel payments is not merely a financial misjudgment. It is an ethical failure of immense magnitude. This policy does more than tighten budgets. It forces millions of pensioners into a harrowing winter, where they must choose between heating their homes or affording basic necessities. This is not responsible governance. This is neglect. Once a champion of the working class, the Labour Party has now abandoned the very people it vowed to protect. Under its leadership, the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, has introduced a measure so devoid of compassion that one must ask, does this government even acknowledge the hardship it is creating? Or has it become so fixated on balancing the books that it has lost sight of its fundamental duty to serve the people? The speed with which this decision was pushed through, with little consultation or effort to assess its devastating impact on pensioners, speaks volumes about Labour's true priorities. And yet, the burdens being imposed are not falling on the wealthy or the powerful. It is not the unchecked profits of energy giants that are being curbed, nor is it the vast fortunes of Britain's elite that are being taxed. Instead, the government has chosen to take from those who have the least, those who have spent decades contributing to society, only to be cast aside in their time of need. Public outrage is not only justified, it is essential. The country's largest trade union, Unite, has taken the fight directly to Westminster, refusing to let this callous decision go unchallenged. The judicial review process is not just a legal maneuver. It is a battle for justice, a demand that the government be held accountable for its disregard for pensioners. A pre-action protocol letter, sent to Liz Kendall, Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, laid out a clear ultimatum: reverse this disastrous decision, or face legal consequences. The government has had every opportunity to correct its course, to acknowledge the cruelty of its actions, and yet it has refused. Now, it must be forced to do so. Labour's defence of the cuts is as weak, it is insulting. They argue that these reductions were necessary for fiscal responsibility, that only the most impoverished pensioners will retain support, that the government must manage public spending carefully. But these justifications fall apart under even the slightest scrutiny. If revenue is needed, why not impose a windfall tax on energy companies raking in record profits? Why not introduce a wealth tax on the nation's richest individuals, those who can afford to contribute more? Why is it always the elderly, the vulnerable, and the struggling who are expected to shoulder the burden of austerity? The answer is painfully clear: because it is easier.